with public comments from the board.
Oh, I have none.
None, thanks.
I just want to thank everybody who came out on Friday night for the Are You Smarter Than Our Sixth Graders? It was a very, very well-attended, successful event. I want to thank my colleagues who were on one of the teams with Representative Scarsdale. We had the Parks Commission as a team and school committee and a whole host, 16 teams. The eventual winner was Lunenburg's finest, the police department, with their special weapon, Hank, the comfort dog, who knew all the answers, as it turns out. And I'm very glad to report that not only was it successful as a good family-oriented event, but it did raise over $21,000 for this Boys and Girls Club of Lunenburg. So we look forward to seeing everybody for next year, our 10th anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you. And you did a wonderful, it was great to be there. I think you did an outstanding job, Mr. Alonso, as a host. It was my first time attending, and I had a blast. I think I kept telling Heather just how much fun we had. I'm sure the word conjunction will never, ever leave me behind. But it was a wonderful, wonderfully fun evening. I was very happy to be a part of it. And I want to say the select board, we did make it to the final round, and we were tied for second. So it was a really fun evening, and I will definitely be back next year.
Excellent.
All right. Do we have any public comments this evening from the public? Mr. Burdens.
Yes, George Burden, 39 Cortlandt Circle.
Yep. Please come to the microphone and just state your name again and address.
George Burden, 39 Cortlandt Circle. Question for you, Mr. Jeffries. At your January 17th special meeting for the taxes, you referenced a $7 million home or property being sold in the village of Flat Hill. It was raised during a concern that a resident had about the appraisals in that area, and I just want to mention that that area has a 33% decrease, approximately, decrease in their taxes, in which, you know, we have other areas in town that have over 100% tax increase. It's just very interesting to me, and I'm trying to find that $7 million home that you referenced. It was approximately at the 1 hour, 12-minute mark that you referenced that, and I just was wondering if you could provide some detail around that home or property that was sold for $7 million.
Yeah, Mr. Burns, I'm not aware of any home in town that sold for $7 million.
Yeah, could you just make a reference then why you made that reference on? I can play it for you if you'd like.
You don't need to. I certainly don't recall saying that. I can look it up afterwards.
Yeah, 1 hour, 16 minutes.
Right.
You made a comment about a $7 million after the gentleman, you know, directly brought up the concern about the area of town that has a decrease. And that area of town has some, what I'll call friends of the town. They have committee members in that area, and I'm just wondering if there's any friendships going on there that maybe decreases got, you know, in that regards.
Mr. Burdens, I want to state that I don't recall.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any home in town that's ever sold for $7 million.
I may as well, but it was stated, and then you did state it, and I just wanted to follow up on that. I raised this concern with you and the town manager, and I haven't heard any responses about that, so I just wanted to make sure the town is aware of the decreases in that area as well. I think it's very important for the town to know that. And also, one other thing I think the town should be aware of is that the police are providing services to that town to do random checks on private property and pulling residents out of the land of that property. And it's kind of amazing to me why that would occur. And no charge to the town, to those residents for that kind of service. Private property again, very interesting. And I think the town should be fully aware of that, and maybe you could research the $7 million property that you referenced and just let us know.
There's nothing to research. There's no property that I'm aware of that sold for $7 million.
Okay. Could you just maybe find out why you maybe made a reference to that, or what property you were trying to reference? If it wasn't $7 million, what property was it?
Do you want to finish your comment tonight, Mr. Burdens?
Yeah, that's all I have. That's the question I have. If you could maybe, you know, do a little research on that and just find out what property you were referencing.
There was no property that I was referencing, Mr. Burden.
There was a property
I may
reference.
have
Okay,
misspoken.
I'm sorry. Okay.
I may have misspoken, and I will clarify that I don't recall making a statement about a $7 million sale.
Okay.
I'm
I can
not
play
aware
it for
of
you
what
if you'd
you
like. It's 1 hour, 17 minutes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comments this evening? Okay. Do we have any on Zoom? No? All right. Any announcements this evening?
Yes, I'm gonna kind of switch up my town manager report and put the announcements that I usually do at the end of the report, at the beginning of the meeting. So first announcement was the Eagle House Supporters Clothing Drive fundraiser collected approximately 1,200 bags of clothing, totaling 12,786 pounds of clothing from December through April, and this raised $2,557 for the Lunenburg Adult Activity Center. And that amount is separate from what the Epilepsy Foundation sells the goods for as well. So that was good news. Representative Margaret Scarsdale will be holding office hours on May 10th from 5 to 6 p.m. at the Lunenburg Public Library. Yard waste days at the landfill off of Youngs Road near Tri-Town Landing will be on May 6th, May 13th, and May 20th. The Lunenburg Youth Baseball and Softball Parade will be on Saturday, May 13th at 9 a.m., starting at Kids Kingdom. The annual town meeting is this Saturday, May 6th at 9 a.m. at the Middle High School Auditorium. The annual town election is Saturday, May 20th, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the TC Passios. And the Memorial Day ceremony will be on Monday, May 29th at 10 a.m. at Veterans Park.
All right. Communications from other boards. So in our Google Drive this evening, we have a couple of communications that have come from other boards. So I'll start with the Planning Board. So the Planning Board, as has been announced during their meetings, is going through the master planning process. And what this is it's generally a master plan for the town that looks at growth over the next 10 plus years. And so I know that one of the things that they will be looking for is some support from this board to be a part of that steering committee. We also have a communication from the sewer committee. And what this is it's just noting that the intermunicipal agreement with the city of Leominster expires at the end of June of next year. And Mr. Dave McDonald and Mike Nault will be representing the sewer commission, and they were reaching out to see if the select board also wishes to have a representative as part of that. And the third communication that we received was the Earth Day 2023 wrap-up report. Would a member from the Parks Commission like to speak to this? And also conservation.
So I think you have our slides,
We
right?
do.
We sent you in a report.
Yeah, we're putting them on the back screen as well.
Okay, excellent. So, I did a Earth Day event on behalf of the Conservation Commission last year, right? Small, it was one day. We had 30 people that showed up. We were able to impact 3 properties, and that, I was really pleased with that, right? But I thought as we were coming through the winter and starting to look forward to this spring, would it be great if we could pull in another commission? And I reached out to Anna, because we both sit on the Open Space Planning Committee. And I said, Anna, you know anybody that might be interested? And I could not have found a more enthusiastic partner. So Anna was my co-conspirator on this, and she did actually a lot of the heavy lifting. We started out with the concept of, hey, we want to do this joint thing. We want to try to maximize the properties that we touch, and we really want to do it over a number of days because we would like to also take advantage of volunteer availability. And, April has some challenges. Spring sports are starting up. The school has its spring vacation. So, if we spread it out throughout the month, then we have a greater opportunity of people who want to participate being able to participate. And so we met a handful of times, we brainstormed, and then we finally kind of started aligning on a strategy. And we came up with this, actually Anna came up with this really cool marketing banner that we put in the Lunenburg Ledger a few times, and then we posted on social media. She had the idea to add the QR code that took people directly to an online registration form, which allowed us to really manage the volunteers and the scope, and to redirect people as we got kind of overcommitted in certain projects, or reach back out to people when we had like a rain day we had to cancel and whatnot. And with the social media too, we tried to have continual engagement throughout the month. As we had events, we would post the thank yous on social media to keep it in visibility, right, and try to get people engaged. And then we had a lot of groups that reached out to us as well. Boy Scouts, we had some Freemasons, and we did real personal engagement with them so that we can make certain that we understood what they wanted to accomplish. There were some circumstances where, like, we tailored an event for them, or, you know, maybe close it down so that it could be their particular event, right? And I think that personal engagement also kind of helped with drive us, you know, to success. And we'll go to the next slide. And I've listed out all of the properties that were affected and improved by this project. I'm not going to read them out to you guys. Everybody who's online can read them. You can see it's a good list. We were really pleased with the number of properties we were able to impact. And I'll let Anna start off with some of the thank yous that we want to send out to volunteers.
Yeah, so the next few slides are some of the pictures of the events. The first one is from Downwell Wallace Playground. We had quite a few attendees there, and it was a good event because we had kids were able to join in. The next slide will be from Veterans Park, and that was actually one event that was led by the Boy Scouts, and Salvation Army actually stopped by with some refreshments, and that was very popular with the Boy Scouts and the families that were there, and that was definitely, you know, right there. And if I don't know if you guys have gone by, but they did a beautiful job. In fact, I might say they did a better job than the landscapers did last year. And then the next slide.
Yeah, so we have a couple of slides from conservation sponsored events too. So we have a slide from the center. There were people that spent a whole day with me down in the Lane property digging out invasive bittersweet. And they spent all day digging those vines out, right? And we cut off the roots, and I baked those in my backyard in plastic, compostable plastic bags. And then the tops we composted locally. And then we also have Girl Scout troop was out on April 2nd, marking trails in the Table Rock Forest. We spent all afternoon out there doing that. It was absolutely wonderful. We'll go to the next slide. Yeah, we had a pollinator habitat that was featured. We did some spring cleaning there with about 13 individuals. And then also had the library, you know, got their name in as well. And there was a Earth Day event there. They did two, actually. They did a sheet mulching event, and then they also did a tree planting. And you know, honestly, all the people that turned out, Nana's got all the facts and figures on that, right, which would be amazing in and of itself. But we really, really are thankful to live in a town where people are personally invested in the success of the town and, you know, the properties and whatnot. Right? Anna,
Yeah.
you're next.
So, you know, on top of the groups that we just mentioned, we want to give a shout out to the Lunenburg Ledger. We paid some advertising, but they donated one. And when we look at the data, you know, those ads did make an impact. And I want to say that also you guys making your public announcement, we had a couple people that volunteered because they heard here. We had also a lot of feedback that the schools send the email with our information. We got a lot of people volunteering from that, along with students and family. We also want to give a shout out to the DPW director and Bill, and also the facilities director. That wasn't something that we asked them, that they didn't just say, yes, we'll be there, count on us. It was great. We were able to efficiently run these projects, and whatever we needed, the trash or the waste was picked up the very next day. And that was definitely, you know, a good coordination. And I want to say thank you to also my friend Mary Wilson. Funny enough, this is my first time meeting her in person.
It's post-COVID. It's weird.
But you know, we were able to coordinate everything really well, and she's also great mind. She was able to have more than half of the groups that worked. It was her contact. She reached out to people, and people reached out back to her. So I really appreciate working with you. I also want to give a shout out to Margaret Scarsdale, our state rep. It's like, I love how she's showing up to everything. She came up to one of the neighborhood cleanups. And that's the kind of thing that we need, more people showing up. And then the groups that participated was the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, the Lunenburg Youth and Softball and Baseball League. They cleaned up all the Marshall Park. And, and one thing I'll mention, the baseball, Marshall Park and the other parks, they pretty much maintain that on their own. We do some work, we do the mowing the grass, but they are one of the groups that do the most for maintaining the fields. All the other groups, they kind of share, but they do a lot of work, and I really want to give a shout out to that. Aurora Lodge Freemasons, they cleaned up, I'm going to say 2 miles of road on New Westlands Road, because it was 1 mile on one side, 1 mile on the other side, and they collected about 30 trash bags of trash. And this, we're talking about like the 50 gallons trash bags. And it was amazing, the amount of work, the trash that was there. And you drive by now and you're like, oh, looks really neat. How much did they really catch? You pass that mile that they cleaned and you start seeing how much trash there is there. So, really thank you to them. The Turkey Hill Lions Club, they actually provided snacks down to Wallace Park. The Salvation Army, and the Lunenburg High School National Honor Society. And also a big shout out to the school by sending that email out for them. So the next slide is really where the magic, the value that these volunteers brought to the town. So there were a total of 14 properties that got touched that we know of. There were a lot of other events that I feel like next year we'll be able to even document even more. We had a total volunteer of 122 people. And what did 122 people can produce? 361 hours for a total of, the value for the town is about $11,000 that these volunteers brought. And that's $11,000 that we're able to do it with volunteer time and not cash, AKA tax money. So it's really amazing, and I cannot, the more we do, the more benefits that it brings to the town.
Yeah, and we're going to wrap up with just setting the stage for, we want to do it again next year. We want to make it just every day, every April, that's what we plan to do as citizens of Lunenburg, get out and host Earth Day events. And so Anna and I are already conspiring on next year's plans. And talking about, what worked well. And I think the marketing worked really well. I think the QR code and the online form worked super well. The multiple events throughout the month worked really well. What would be really cool is if we could do t-shirts, right? Now, there's some obstacles with doing t-shirts because there's inventory. We'd have to forecast and buy a long time ahead of when we would actually know how many events and how many volunteers. We've been trying to ask ideas about that. One thing that's come from our collaborators is, well, what if we just bought, a set of t-shirts for every event, and then we had a raffle by the volunteers that showed up, right? So if you're size small, you put your name in size small, and then at the end of the event, then at least we're doing something that makes the inventory management issue manageable. It makes the budget also, more scalable, manageable. So that's an idea. We'll have to see where we are. I'd really like for there to be a brand badge that people can wear with pride that say, hey, I'm personally invested in my town, because that's what I feel like having an Earth Day, Lunenburg Earth Day t-shirt would say. And I think, that gives us also some light marketing going around as well, right? And then another idea that I thought was a really cool and cute idea, because we really would like to get more children and families with children out, right? And some of the events aren't just as conducive to that, right? One of the volunteers said, oh, hey, when I lived in Olympia, Washington, they used to have a pollinator parade, and all the kids would dress up, and their families might dress up too, and, be a bee or be a moth or something, and have a pollinator parade. And I thought, wow, that'd be really a cute idea for the opening of, Earth Day next year. And, anyway, we've kicked some of these ideas around, and I think maybe in the fall, we're going to start seeing if we could pull together a few more co-conspirators and maybe do some surveys and see what might interest people so we can drive some more enthusiasm again next year.
This sounds excellent.
It
Any
does.
comments from the board?
No, I think it's a great idea. I'm glad to see we're doing something. But I think if we got the word out, the only unfortunate thing is that it falls in April and there's always the break.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
the break, and
There's the break.
sports start in
Yep.
the spring, right? So, yeah, it does make it tough.
Yeah, no, this is amazing. Thank you for the report and the continued enthusiasm and the momentum going forward, so. That's good.
Same here. I followed a lot of what you posted on social media, so I saw a lot of visibility, but to see it in a report
Yeah.
as this, where pulls all the numbers together, really shows a perfect picture. So I hope you continue that. You have great ideas, and I'm sure it'll grow next year.
Thank you for all your work. You know, this is near and dear to me, and I know there have been a lot of discussions about how we can get something like this started, so it's great that you guys have had this initiative, this drive. You know, clearly this was a really successful year, and so, as this keeps going, it just gets bigger and bigger, and it just becomes an annual tradition, and people just kind of get to know, hey, it's April, it's time for us to get out and clean up the town. So thank you so much for really helping pull this together. It's really needed, and just thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Right. Lou, do you have the verbiage for the public hearing?
Say again?
Do you have the verbiage for the public hearing?
One moment. I should.
Yep, last PDF in Lakefront. All right, so for tonight, we have a public hearing. And if Mr. Franco will read the notice.
Oh, yes, okay, I do have it, yes, here we go. And why isn't it opening? Okay. Okay, the Lunenburg Licensing Authority, that's the Select Board, will hold a public hearing on May 2nd, 2023, at 7:15 PM in Town Hall, 17 Main Street, second floor, Lunenburg, Mass., on the application submitted by Lakefront Beverage Incorporated, doing business as On the Rocks, for an all-alcohol restaurant license located at 96 Lakefront Avenue, Lunenburg, Massachusetts. The premises is described as a one-story sports bar with a 29 by 12, well, 29 foot by 12 foot outdoor patio, 1,540 total square feet. Do you want me to do the Zoom aspect of this thing too? If you would like to participate remotely via Zoom, please check the Select Board agenda posted on the town website for sign-in instructions.
All right. So we are going to begin tonight's public hearing. If we can have the applicants please step forward and introduce yourselves.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jonathan Dickout, and I'm the proposed manager, owner of On the Rocks Sports Bar.
Okay. So we have the application here in front of us this evening for this transfer. So I will start by just making a note that I'm very interested in what we're about to learn during this public hearing, because we are likely going to be scheduling a violation hearing with the existing owner in the coming couple of weeks. And I'm not entirely sure if we're going to even be able to make a decision tonight, but I certainly want to go through the process. Maybe we will be able to make a decision on this tonight. So, I think that we're going to have a lot of questions about organization and management structure.
Understand?
But I want to just start with other members of the board who've had the chance to, well, we will go to other members of the board. If you wouldn't mind just explaining first your experience in the alcohol industry, if you have any experience with the existing business, what your plan is, with operating this business, anything that you can do to introduce this to us and all those who are watching.
I understand. So, neighboring town, Townsend, is a business called the Townsend House. My family opened that in 1974, before I was alive. So, that business, I worked there as a kid. My grandparents, from everywhere from busing to dishwashing, prep cooking, bartending, managing, and basically everything. From that point on, I did my own thing, going in the military and stuff like that. And then I wanted to get back in the business, so I bought another place in Fitchburg called Partners Pub. It was in need of some very serious attention, multiple violations, and in the past 3.5 years, I bought it before COVID, and it was closed 3 months later. We were able to remodel it, rebrand it, and basically we've had 0 infractions in those 3.5 years. As much as though the chief of police in Fitchburg has thanked me for it.
All right, I'm going to turn to some members with any questions that they may have. I know I'm going to have a slew, so we'll start on the other end.
Well, I'm going to let you have the slew, because it looks like they have things in order here. And the violation is in regards to the current.
It is.
Okay, so I don't really have any questions.
The only question, at the moment, the only question I have is whether, as far as the continuity, how do you anticipate managing this place? And is any of the management or staff from the previous owner going to carry over into your ownership?
None of the management will be. Some of the staff are staying, but I cannot speak for them. They don't work for me. But none of the management will be there, I can assure you that.
The management will not be.
I will be the manager.
Okay, that's one major point for the moment. And then when Mr. Jeffries gets into his thing, might raise more questions. So
You are, obviously, well, I'm assuming you are aware of the infraction that's going to be before us and has been submitted. Is that, are you aware?
No, I'm not aware of that. Nobody has made me any, at all aware of that.
Well, there is one.
Okay.
So, sorry to be the one to tell you. I
Okay.
believe that any hearing we have is against the license, right? So whoever the licensee is, it's not against the owner, it's against the license. Am I correct in that?
To look at our regulations.
Because if there is, and I just want the applicant to be aware that if there is if there is found a violation of the license, it could have some impact on the business.
Yes.
Okay. As long as you are aware of
I
that.
understand, I'm very
Okay.
aware of that.
Are there any changes that you are going to do in the way that it's operating now, hours, anything of substance or significance that's going to change, mainly hours or type of establishment that it'll be, or is everything going to remain as it is?
The hours will remain the same. For the license, as far as if I will keep those hours, my license, I ask for all of them, and I will choose if I want to make them shorter, on certain days. But as far as the way the business is run now or what's going on, no, we're thinking of, or I should say me, a new concept. It needs some work as far as some bathrooms and other things, and it just needs to be managed properly, and that's what I'm going to be doing.
Okay. I see that there was a question about the outdoor seating. Was that
Related to the
resolved?
special permit?
The special
Yes, that's
permit.
addressed in the memo from the land use director.
Okay, so just so people are aware, this establishment got a special permit for having the outdoor seating, and it has been determined that that is a transferable permit.
Correct.
Excuse me, the COVID permit or the actual,
This was a pre-COVID, yeah, this is,
So
the fact that you could they could operate outside.
on the side patio, right?
Yeah, the side
That's,
patio.
that's a special, right?
That's a special permit.
And it's been-
But there was question whether that special permit was transferable, and it has been determined that it is, so that you will inherit that if this goes through. You're aware of all our policies about, having and I'm sure the chair is going to touch on this too, but that you have to have all your policies available for inspection for any enforcement agent that comes in.
I think I've made them,
They're right there.
if I put them, forward, yes.
Well, I mean, this doesn't qualify as having them available at the place, but.
Well, I can't do that, I don't.
Right,
I
okay. As long
understand
as you're
that.
aware of
Yeah.
all our whole license policy. Have you read through our license policy?
I have.
Okay. All right, I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Alonso. So first, your experience working with the Townsend House, I think we all know that that's a reputable business. Certainly, that's primed you and gotten you ready. You mentioned your military experience.
Yes.
Were you in the Army, Marines?
It was the United States Coast Guard.
Okay, excellent. And I saw in the application some of the funding is also coming, in part, I thought I saw some veteran funding as well related to that. No?
No.
Okay, I must have misread that. So your experience, right now you mentioned you own Partners Pub in
I do.
Fitchburg?
I do.
All right, so can you talk to me a little bit about your management plan? Because obviously you can't manage two places at once.
Yes.
So who's your backup and or is that a position you need to hire for?
Oh, no, I'll be the manager. And once this license is approved, the Fitchburg license will be changed to a different manager.
Okay, so Fitchburg got it.
I'm the manager of record in Fitchburg as well.
So you're owning Fitchburg, but you will change the management of Fitchburg,
Just for the license, yes. I'll still own the business and the property.
and then you will actively manage this bar.
I will.
And it's going to remain kind of a young sports bar?
I can't tell you who goes there or what their ages are.
Okay.
But it's not going to be like it is now. I can just tell you that.
So, I don't personally I will say, On the Rocks serves a really vital purpose in the sense that it is the young people's bar, it's in this area. It's where all the, under 25-year-olds for the most part go. And we all know that. There's certainly no problem with that. Have no concerns about 21-year-olds drinking. My concern is about the 20-year-olds and the 19-year-olds who routinely get into On the Rocks and drink. And so that is really, I think, the behavior that we're looking to stop. And so can you talk to me a little about what you put in place to ensure that you're only serving people over the age of 21? What are I know you have your policy, but if you can talk me through it. What are those controls that allow you to have no deficiencies in the city of Fitchburg and get that kind of praise from the chief of police?
As I will say, it's just management, correct management, proper management, hands-on management, and that's what I'll have. Also, everyone's tips trained anyway, we know that, but just reiterating that, meetings with people, my staff, working with them, just really being hands-on, I guess, and just, busy nights, I still at my pub, we have, would use them as door guys, not security or anything like that, and I myself have caught people trying to come in with underage or IDs that are, they're real IDs, just they're not 21, but people don't check them correctly. Or one that's not really there, excuse me, like they try to use somebody that looks like them or something like that. But basically, we're just going to be a hands-on management team, and I guess I'm going to use the same policies that work so very well at Partners Pub On the Rocks. It's been a very, very well success there, a very good success, and it's almost the same transition from this place, from the other place, except for On the Rocks is a lot nicer than Partners was when I bought it. Partners was pretty rough. So we were able to remodel the whole thing and make it through COVID, which was very, very difficult.
Okay. Working with, last year I hired some interns for the summer, and they showed me their fake IDs.
Yes.
And they are very believable.
For sure.
I was really impressed with how great the technology has come over the last 20-something years since I needed a fake ID. But the new readers that you can put cards into obviously can quickly identify if the IDs are fake or not. Will you be employing these in your business?
I have no experience in that. Even if that ID was real, if it's not their actual person, it doesn't matter. They could use a real ID that's not them. So you still have to physically check the ID and the person, and that's, I think, really the best,
Yeah, I certainly would hope that knowing that the typical age group that goes there is young, knowing how easy it is to go on Google and order a fake ID these days, the technology that they use in most convenience stores these days to be able to check and verify that the IDs are valid, I would like to see that employed in your place of business because as a retired military police officer, I couldn't tell that the IDs were fake because they come with the logos on them. You put them in the light, they look real. And the only way you're going to know is if you scan them. And again, I had some 19-year-olds who had 23 years old on their IDs. And again, I asked to see them because I was curious. So I know that they exist. So that's one area that I would like to see a little bit more, knowing that this bar routinely is it attracts younger people. And I've seen the Fitchburg State bus pull up and drop off a bunch of kids. So, it would be great if you can employ those controls. We've also had concerns from neighbors. Now I will say, people who own a home near a bar should expect to hear bar-like noises.
I agree with that.
That's should be expected. But some of the things have been a little extreme over the last several years. So I know that the neighbors in the area are looking for some better management of what occurs outside the bar. The COVID area, that's up to this board. I expect those provisions to expire in the next couple of days or so, and for those not to be extended, but you still will have an outdoor.
Extended.
Say again?
Those were extended.
They're extended, yeah. My other, yeah, we already have ours, yes.
All right, so,
Extended, yeah.
but you already have your existing patio area, so that's going to be a little bit of a concern. Can you talk to me about what again, I know that people who live near bars are going to hear bar-like noises, but what are you going to do to manage, how are you going to manage that outdoor patio area to ensure that the fights that we've experienced, the unauthorized access that's been coming through from the patio, that those things stop?
I guess written policies I don't have. I can just tell you the only way to combat that kind of thing is being hands-on. My first pub that I bought for the first year, I was there every night closing to make sure. And people find out very quickly that when it's zero tolerance, they move on. And that's what we did. So that's what I'll do. Zero tolerance.
All right. You strike me as someone who is very to the point person you present as someone of clear integrity, and this certainly is helpful. My concern broadly is, you're signing an agreement to purchase a business, and presumably your purchase price accounts for the fact that there's going to be this transfer of the alcohol license. I think we need to resolve whether or not there's a license to transfer to you before we can approve to transfer the license to you, if that makes sense. I think that we need to have a conversation with the current owner, go through that, because, we do have a history on this property of violations, and we did last year do an enforcement that modified their hours and closed them down. So given that this is another infraction and we need to still get to the bottom of it, we don't have all those details just yet, but we need to get to the bottom of it.
What is the infraction? I've not been aware of this infraction at all. It should be public record, correct?
Yes.
I didn't get any public records from anybody as far as the meeting agenda or any violations. And maybe I can't find them. I'm not familiar with your system, but
So the meeting hasn't been posted yet.
Okay.
It will be on next week's agenda.
okay.
But if you contact our office, we can get you a copy of what's going to be discussed.
Okay.
And
And
then-
there are liquor licenses available in Lunenburg, if I'm correct?
Yes.
So I could just apply for another one and not even take this one? I would not want to do that. And if we move further than this, I would want to contact my attorney.
Okay. So what I would,
You would not want to do,
I don't want to try to get another license. I want this license. It's not, it's just another whole long process that, I think the thing I'm here for is, I think if we could really move forward here, it's going to be better for the town, for myself, and for everybody. That's my position, and that was my attorney's position. If you guys would like to go to Partners Pub and see how it is, I could very easily show you how well it is, and I could show you pictures of what it was before, and show you the violations. They're public record. There was many. I mean, they had 10-day suspensions. It was the Wild West there, and I don't allow that, But because of my position in the city I work for, I don't have, I just have zero tolerance.
yeah, I appreciate that. There's a lot of ways to make money. You don't need, what I say from this position all the time is I drink, right? I don't have any problem with alcohol, not even a little bit. My problem is knowing that this bar not targets, but that typically the patrons are younger adults. And, you're dealing with a lot of kids coming home from college break, college vacation. They want to hang out with their friends, all good stuff. No one should have to deal with not having their kid come home because somebody wanted to make an extra $10 by serving to somebody who shouldn't have been served to. And that's my problem. And you seem to be a really responsible person. I know that we're bringing up some of this other stuff that's unrelated to
I understand.
you. You seem very much so capable of handling this license. You also sound, from what you're saying to us, you would like for there to be a transfer. This is a public hearing, so we are going to pause, open to anyone from the public
Of course.
who wants to speak.
if I may.
Yes.
I just want to have one last question. So I see that you have a business partner.
Yes.
Is the business partner going to be involved actively in the business, or is it more of a silent partner?
I wouldn't say silent. He's more of the construction side, and he'll be helping with the repairs of the business and that. But I am the hands-on manager.
Right, so he will not be doing the day-to-day?
Oh, no. That'll be me.
Okay, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yep, no. So I do want to open up to the public, but I think that in my head, what may be a reasonable path forward, maybe to, at the end of this public hearing, reschedule it in another week or two after we have the violation hearing, Because again, if I don't know what's going to happen in that, but if there is a revocation, there's no license to transfer. But certainly, I think that what you're proposing to us is probably a good answer to some of our concerns, which is maintaining an area for young people and others who want to drink to do it responsibly and minimize the risk that I think, is currently coming from that establishment. It's in our best interest to maintain the business in town. You certainly seem like a responsible, right person to run it. And it sounds as though you'd much prefer the transfer anyway. I think that this certainly helps a lot, but I want to pause and just go to any members from the public who are here who'd like to speak to this. Do you have anyone in the room who'd like to speak to this? Anyone on Zoom? Okay.
I will speak to it. I understand and I hear your concerns, Mr. Chair. I will say that although the applicant has not seen the infraction yet, he has been made aware of it, and as one of my colleagues said earlier in the meeting, all the paperwork is in order. So if he is not looking for an extension, I am willing to do the transfer as long as he understands that whatever happens at that infraction hearing is his responsibility and it could reflect on his business and impact his business. If he is understanding of that, then I have no reason not to agree with the transfer.
Okay.
Can I speak on that?
Of course.
So when I bought Partners Pub, they had just had a 10-day suspension, served 4 days, 6 days held in abeyance. I was very aware that if I had an infraction, whether it was my fault or not, after ownership, that those 6 days in abeyance were now my fault, or my problem, and my business would be shut down, nothing to do with me. Whether it was something very small, as somebody walking outside with an open container, which is another huge issue on the rocks that nobody brought up. That's another huge issue that I've seen there. So at the underage drinking, the young kids, I'm sorry, sir, I don't see that. When I go there, I see people who are my age, some younger. I have a pretty mixed crowd at my spot. So I am fully aware of the license transfer, and of the license is not in my name, it's in the business's name, and no matter what it goes to. I am responsible for everything that's happened on license for the entirety of it.
I think you're probably one of the most responsible applicants we've had on the other side of this table, to be quite honest and fair with you.
Thank you.
Let me just, for my own edification and maybe for the edification of others as well, see if I understand all the options here. One, we do the transfer and whatever happens in that violation hearing happens. And then that's sort of, if there's a black mark on the license, I mean, that follows through. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, I will just add, though, the transfer is not going to happen automatically, though. I mean, the state's going to have to give their approval. That's going to take a couple of months. So it's likely going to be the former owner who has to deal with the violations, not the new.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a couple of months, by the way, transfer. I think it's maybe
I think it's been, sometimes it was, Partners Pub 3.5 years ago was 6 weeks. And the executive assistant here, she said she's been hearing she expects 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think.
The point is, it's out of our control, so.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
It's not, as the chair said, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. My opinion on this is the faster it gets transferred, the faster there's more management involved there. And that's better for the community, for myself, and the other owners, they really want to move on, and I want to move in.
Okay.
All right, so scenario one is we do the transfer, and then it's up to chance what happens at that violation hearing.
Correct.
The next scenario is we have the violation hearing, and then you have a known quantity, what the outcome of that was. That's number two. Is it a third option? I don't know, this may have come up, and I may not have heard it. Sometimes I do have a problem hearing. That, let's just say the outcome of that violation hearing were to be a revocation. Can we do a revocation and then just issue a new clean license to him as an applicant? No, you can't do that.
It's a different
Okay.
process.
Right.
Okay.
Excuse me, guys, so this violation they could possibly be taking the license from the
I think at this point, we don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, we have other violations. We have a history of violations, so we don't know.
Okay.
But
I've been told there's been one violation. So one that's been, they've been,
Since it's a hearing to be had,
Yes.
I will say only that certainly that is an option. That's all I can say, because we haven't had the
yeah,
hearing.
we haven't had a hearing.
no, I'm saying I was told by council that they've only had one violation on record in the 20 years of existence. They've had some. So that's what I've been told. Whether they've been for the board and they've dismissed it or not, that's a different story. One actual voted on violation by the board, and I can't speak for that. That was from my counsel. But as far as I totally understand that if they have a suspension or if they have a revocation, then the deal ceases to exist. My place today is to really to move forward, and I hope we could do that. But I totally understand what people do, what you board selects to do or chooses. But if you have any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, do we have any more comments, questions? Okay. So if we can open, we're going to, anyone else want to offer any commentary related to this public hearing?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Please step forward, if you wouldn't mind.
Did I overdress?
You took the words right out of my mouth, Mr. Rogers.
I know, yeah. I was in transit and I heard this, so I wanted to come forth. Dave Rogers, 82 Highland Street. Karen's mother and father lived right next door to this restaurant, okay? And so there's been a long history. And the family that operated it, the Decos, were wonderful people. Not one time did they have any problems. And if it was something that was askew, they came in and took care of it immediately.
Which restaurant are we talking about?
Townsend House.
Townsend House, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know which one you were talking about.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to tell you that I don't know the applicant. Excuse me. Jogging. Anytime there was an issue, they took care of it. Just as a frame of reference, the grandfather, who was a heck of a good guy, he was the warden of the prison over in Fort Devens. I mean, just a prince of a fellow. And the folks that are running the restaurant right now are excellent as well. Obviously, Karen's mother and father are deceased and no longer there, but not once was there a problem, and they did what they said they would do. So, and I wouldn't know this fellow if I tripped over him, but the family is well connected. I'll tell you, they're nice people. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have any other public comments from the public related to this application? All right, seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing on this. I think, Mr. Alonso, what stands out to me from the applicant, and I want to echo Mr. Rogers' comments, is I think the applicant has a really good history here of family history of running restaurants, having alcohol licenses. I think he's demonstrated tonight in clear words his approach to managing establishments that serve alcohol. And I think that I can be persuaded to move forward tonight with a transfer of an alcohol license.
Well, what do we have to do to persuade you?
I said, no,
You said you could be persuaded.
I have been persuaded.
Oh, okay.
I'll rephrase could to, I have been persuaded. I think that the applicant is aware of the risk that they assume. Certainly, I would assume that on their part that they would, knowing that we're having a violation hearing next week, that they may delay any kind of transfer of money until that's over with. But regardless, I think the applicant's aware of his risk. He's willing to move forward nonetheless. And as he indicated, if there's a revocation that occurs, then he's okay with that.
Right. And that's the way, Mr. Chair, that's the way I look at it. I mean, this is a business transaction, and he has followed all the proper procedures. He has gone through all the checks that need to be done and filed all the paperwork. We've gotten, no negative information about the business transfer, and he is aware of whatever risk exists because of the impending infraction hearing to be held So I am certainly do not want to, if it is his wish, I see no reason not to grant that with everything in order, ready to be transferred. So I would certainly, if you're entertaining one,
I am.
I would entertain a motion that we grant the all alcohol license and common vic transfer to Lakefront Beverage, Inc., doing businesses on the Rocks, 96 Lakefront Avenue.
I'll second that.
Lou?
Yeah, I think I mean, it's the whole assumption of the risk thing. As long as the applicant, the applicant is a sophisticated person in terms of business and this kind of a business, and if he's willing to accept the risk of what the outcome of that is, then I'm okay with it. That's his risk, but and I mean, there's a part of me that just welcomes the transfer too, just to, just to a more responsible buyer. So I'm on board.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes. So congratulations. As a reminder, we do have a requirement every year, as I'm sure you know, that you're going to need to submit every December your renewal if the transfer goes through, that there was a requirement to submit your renewal every year. You have to have your property inspections, and then we also do require you to provide us with a list of who is certified in your establishment to serve alcohol. That's also, as Mr. Alonso noted, is open for inspection at any time. And we have designated, the select board as a licensing authority can inspect ourselves individually as members, but our agent for this is the police department, and all officers have been identified as agents of this board for the purpose of supporting us with our licensing authority on this.
I understand that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
you.
Good luck.
I will say, I walked up with him. He seems like a nice guy, too. So. Always helps. All right. Interview, appointments, reappointments, resignations. So we're going to start with, to the town manager. She wants to introduce the building commissioner, Brian Gingras.
Yes, and Mr. Gingras is here if he wants to come up, and I'll just introduce a little bit about Brian. So we advertised for this position on April 4th. We received 6 applications by the preferred application deadline of April 18th. 4 of the applicants met the required qualifications, and we extended interviews. 3 of the 4 accepted an interview, and Brian was our top candidate for the position. Brian comes to us with 15 years of relatable municipal experience. He's worked previously for 10 years as a local inspector for the town of Athol, the city of Lowell, and the city of Woburn, before becoming a building commissioner. And he currently works for the town of Lancaster, where he gained 2.5 years' experience as their building commissioner. And he's a certified local building inspector and will be taking his final test for his certification later this month. And prior to his municipal work, he owned and operated a general contracting company for 17 years. Brian lives in Pepperell, and he did extensive research on the community for his interview, so he came well prepared. And speaking with him today, he's very well versed, and look forward to bringing him on board. And we're happy we're able to fill this position so quickly. So welcome.
Thank you. And if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and telling us, why you're leaving Lancaster and why you want to be here in Lunenburg.
Okay, thank you. So my name's
Well, that's
Brian.
why you want to move to
You don't have to tell us
Lunenburg.
why you're leaving Lancaster.
I'll tell the honest story. I've had to explain this repeatedly over the last week. So my name's Brian Gingras. Live in Pepperell, as she said. I have a small hobby farm in Pepperell, only 3 acres, so pales in comparison to a lot of the ones around here. I said about 15 years experience, various size communities, Athol being on the smaller end, Lowell was interesting. Woburn was over 10 years, just about 10 years, sorry, in a high volume atmosphere. 1,900 permits, 2,000 permits a year I was leaving, spread across 2 local inspectors. So average 800 that I would deal with in a year, plus 300 plus or minus annual inspections and other facilities. So I went to work Lancaster because it was a lot closer. Smaller community, a lot of one-on-one ability to meet with the public, meet with applicants, those complaining about their neighbors, and maybe the neighbors' chickens. We had a few of those. Ability to provide one-on-one customer service in a way that I couldn't in Woburn at all. Reasons for leaving Lancaster: initially, we have an override going on. I'm sure some have heard the arguments with North Lancaster, et cetera, et cetera. Lunenburg posted the job, and I did extensive research on Lunenburg, looking at the budgets, looking at zoning, how comparable it was to where I am now, and I applied. I'm like, this is a plan B. You never know how this override's going to go. I was told I was going to lose all of my support staff around me, conservation agent, the admin for the planning community development, which I share some time with, and there was no level of customer service to be had at that point. I'm like, okay, well, Lunenburg, I'll throw it out there, and applied, got the interview, and found out a lot about where they were looking for the department to go, customer service based, that one-on-one, that taking the time for people, when somebody comes in, and you weren't at the interview, but one thing that's very important to me, when somebody calls, when somebody comes in, that's the most important thing to them when they show up. You need to stop and treat them that way as well. Yeah, it was something we could never do in Woburn. I worked to do that in Lancaster, and we turned the department in a about 17-month period of time from something that was taking weeks for permits to, honestly, I can do 24-hour turnaround on 99% of what comes into that department. And the other 1%, they've gotten a response within 24 hours or less, and they know exactly what they need. Even if that came from conservation or the treasurer's office or anything else, I'm still the point of contact. I'd reach out. Everybody always knew. It wasn't wait and see what happens. Again, it was just very customer service based, and through the interviews here, there seemed to be a lot of focus on that. I'm like, this is good. This is a good atmosphere. And the town has a commercial base, something I'm greatly missing in Lancaster. I'd like having that commercial aspect, not every day in and day out like Woburn, but that variety. And then driving around, you've got farms, you've got everything here. It's a nice, well-rounded community and a nice base to deal with. So, yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the members of the board?
Isn't it a better commute, too?
So I didn't touch on the personal side. We can go there. It's 17 minutes door to door.
Yeah.
I finally found a way where I can literally do it in 17 minutes.
Without speeding.
Without speeding.
17 minutes.
I can't, if I speed in that truck, it's going to cost a fortune of fuel. Honestly, I don't drive a small vehicle. None of our vehicles are small. It's farm life. The four-day work week was awesome, obviously. I'm there to put my 7-year-old on the bus in the morning on Friday, something I haven't really been able to do unless I took a day off. I'm there when she gets off the bus. Little things. I've got more time to actually manage that property, which, I don't think we understood when we bought it, the level of work it was going to be. I'm on a tractor every night after work right now trying to keep up.
I have no questions, just thank you for applying and providing your explanation.
Thank you.
I will say that when we put out things for applications of this kind, we've gotten such a variety, sometimes a dearth of applicants, and sometimes not, but they're not the right kind. I don't think in many years, I don't think I've seen somebody come up and explain their position and their experience and their decision-making any better than I just heard, especially focusing on the customer aspect of it. Having someone who just built a garage on my property last year, the customer aspect of that, when you're there, that is their most important thing. So I'm really appreciative of that. And it seems like we're getting an influx of people from Pepperell who are involved in our town, like our state rep. So now we got a state rep, now we have you. So obviously the word is out. But anyway, I look forward to you starting.
Thank you.
Yeah. So did you happen to watch a select board meeting before you came tonight?
I did not.
Okay.
Is there something you want to warn me?
No. I'm just curious. Normally I have a lot of questions, and I don't have any. And I think for most people who are watching, they know that means a lot, because I'm usually pepper everyone with a lot of questions. You're clearly very qualified. You're in the right place. I think that you're exactly what we need in the role, and so I will move to ratify your appointment as building commissioner for Brian Gingras. Am I saying that right?
Second.
All right.
Gingras.
Gingras.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, as many as are in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
When do you
Yeah,
start?
when does he start? It's
May
in
22nd?
22nd. Yep.
22nd.
Just a couple of weeks.
Plenty of time to get the farm in shape.
Have time off in between?
I'm not taking any time now. I'm actually leaving probably 2.5 weeks of vacation on the table. 'Cause
Oh, wow.
if I walk out of there, I stayed home today and I was still going through permits that were coming in. I just hope they find somebody to continue on the level that we're trying to establish anyway.
I should have asked this before I cast my vote, but what kind of tractor do you have?
Oh no. Do you have? Are you green?
Of
or
course he
orange?
is.
I'm green, personally.
Okay, so I've got 2 Kubotas.
I'm orange.
I have an antique. I've got a '78 L245 DT though.
Okay, okay.
Even better.
All right. Well, wonderful meeting you. Certainly, welcome aboard, and I know that you're already up to speed, so it's just a matter of you providing your professional notice and.
I already gave notice. In fact, some coworkers who live in Lunenburg threatened to show up here to oppose it.
All right, Brian. Nice
you
to
very
meet
much.
you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good 17-minute ride home. All right. So we're also going to the town manager, if you want to introduce your next appointment for the,
Yes. So the next appointment I'm asking the board to ratify tonight is for the police department for their part-time administrative assistant, Gail Kemp. And I'll read the police chief's letter to introduce her in a little background. Dear Ms. Lemieux, as you are aware, we have been looking to fill the new part-time administrative assistant role for the police department since January of 2023. The position has been posted, and we have gone through 2 rounds of interviews with several candidates. During the second round of interviews, we identified a candidate who we believe will be a great fit for our department and community. I am pleased to recommend Gail Kemp for the part-time administrative assistant for the police department position. Gail is a resident of Fitchburg and has family in Lunenburg. She holds an associate's degree in business administration from Jamestown Community College and has extensive administrative assistant experience. In her previous roles, Gail has been responsible for maintaining payroll, accounts payable, and receivables, and has familiarity with Microsoft Office Suite. Gail possesses the skills and knowledge to successfully fulfill this position. Gail has met all of the requirements for this position, which included passing a full background investigation. I request that Gail Kemp be appointed to the part-time administrative assistant for the police department position to be effective May 4th, 2023. Thank you for your consideration of my request. Chief Thomas Gamble.
okay.
Did he write in there that she was related to people in town?
That she has family in Lunenburg.
Yeah. Kemp.
I know the Kemps. Yeah.
I personally met her. She was, I think she'll be a good fit, right personality, very even tempered, keeled, and yeah, I think she'll do well at the police department.
I will say, if I may, Mr. Chair, that it's always easier when you have somebody here to interview, to meet the person. I always feel a little bit, behind it. And I certainly defer to our leadership in town, so I will certainly vote in favor of this. But it is a lot easier if people come and you can get a good sense, even in 5 minutes, you get a good sense of somebody, like we did with Mr. Gingras. So, but I trust the police chief and the town manager.
Okay. Any other questions for the town manager? Do we have a motion?
I move that we ratify the town manager's appointment of the police chief, part-time administrative assistant Gail Kemp.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All right, so I don't personally know Gail Kemp, although I know her family very well, so I don't need to recuse myself here. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, any additional discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. All right, the motion passes, and please welcome Gail aboard.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, and so we're going to turn to the town manager's report. All right, to the town manager.
So I'll start with the announcement of existing vacancies, which the list is dwindling.
Good.
So that's a good sign. There is one vacancy on the Finance Committee, one associate vacancy on the Green Communities Committee, one member-at-large vacancy on the Open Space Committee, one vacancy on the Personnel Committee, and one associate vacancy on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Anyone interested in serving on any of these committees can find the volunteer application on the town website, complete it, and return it to the Select Board's office. And any questions on roles and responsibilities, you can contact the Select Board's office as well at 978-582-4130, extension 144.
Well, perhaps the town moderator at the Saturday's meeting can close these last 5. He's
Yes.
usually good at recruiting people at that meeting.
We will bring some volunteer applications to distribute. For current employment opportunities with the town, there are currently the following vacancies: Administrative Assistant for Conservation, which is 10 hours a week, Administrative Assistant for Planning, which is 36 hours a week, the Assistant to the Sewer Business Manager, which is a 24-hour-a-week position, Assistant Town Accountant, which is 32 hours a week, Facilities Superintendent, which is 40 hours a week, Finance Director, which is 40 hours a week, Police Officer, which is 40 hours a week, Veteran Service Agent, that time varies week to week, and Public Access Videographer position, which is generally 2 to 10 hours a week. Information on these positions can be found on the town website under Employment, and you can find the how to apply on the website. An update on Route 2A, Electric Ave, and the Lunenburg Crossing entrance. The DPW director has been attempting to address the Route 2A, Electric Ave, Lunenburg Crossing intersection with Mass DOT for many months. Initially, his conversations with Mass DOT indicated they had also received complaints about Route 2A, Electric Ave, Lunenburg Crossing driveway. He was told their traffic section was planning to collect traffic volumes and review operations along the corridor, which is not a formal traffic study. With the updated traffic data, they would evaluate whether there are opportunities to implement short-term measures to improve safety. If not, they would determine if a larger Mass DOT project would be initiated to address safety concerns. The director had relayed to Mass DOT that a major area of concern is cars coming off Chase Road onto Mass Ave, where there is a yield sign, but there is free access onto Mass Ave. The speed limit on Chase Road is 45 miles an hour, so these cars are moving fast, and some of these cars stay in the right lane turn lane at Walmart and go straight through the lights. This then creates conflicts beyond Walmart where the two lanes merge. The town's recommendation would be to control the movement coming off Chase Road. Mass DOT installed traffic counters at Route 2A, Electric Ave and Lunenburg Crossing driveway intersection, and at the Route 2A and Chase Road intersection the week ending December 2nd, 2022, and removed them the week ending December 9th, 2022. In early March, the DPW director asked Ann Sullivan of Mass DOT for an update, and she had responded that they were still evaluating what they could do on this stretch between Chase Road and Electric Ave, and the intersection and signal were designed as such that the outside lane is a shared through right turn lane. As part of their evaluation, they are looking to determine if the outside lane on the westbound approach at the signal can be modified to an exclusive right turn lane. On April 28th, the DPW director spoke with Lori Shattuck, Mass DOT District 3 Traffic Engineering Section. She stated the intersection is a top 5% intersection crash cluster, and as such is eligible for funding under the Highway Safety Improvement Program. She is going to find out if a road safety audit can be started. She envisions a future project to make permanent changes to alleviate the traffic conflicts. She is also willing to meet with public safety officials in the field to discuss temporary measures that may help. Ms. Shattuck said she would get back to the director soon.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good news.
Yes.
So I'm sure the resident who made the request is going to be happy to hear that.
I think it's something the town has been speaking with Mass DOT for some time
There's a
as
whole
well.
history of
Yes.
requests, so it's not just, yeah, eventually you reach the straw, hopefully.
Invitation for bids and requests for proposals. Bids for the Lunenburg Adult Activity Center outdoor patio project were initially due May 1st, but will be extended to Monday, May 8th, due to an addendum that needs to address some changes to the bid specifications. The Assistant Town Manager is currently reviewing draft bids for the 5-year assessors reevaluation, Page Street Culvert Construction Project, guardrail repairs, fog sealing, and an RFP for operation and maintenance of the wastewater collection system. Also, the Assistant Town Manager will be rebidding the Public Safety Building Carport project shortly. I am finalizing the request for proposals for the LED streetlight conversion and hope to have this advertised by next week. An update on 30 School Street, hazardous abatement and demolition. Demolition of the building began on April 27th and is expected to be complete by a town meeting. Site work and grading is expected to be complete by May 19th. So if anyone's, which I drove over this afternoon, it's, I would say 80%, or if not more, probably 90% down. So there's just that corner wall still up.
Are we saving any bricks?
Yes.
Okay, good.
That was part of the.
That was part of the
bid.
deal, I thought so,
Yeah.
okay.
And if you go over, they've started to put some on pallets
Good.
to collect them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Department head updates from facilities. The facilities director reported that the architect will be wrapping up the plans for the Ritter Building envelope project soon. The bid for the Adult Activity Center generator will be going out soon. 30 School Street will be complete by the end of May. And the facilities director is working with an architect on putting the Public Safety Building carpet, not carport, project bid together. And the schematic design work for Marshall Park should be complete around mid-June. From land use, we are currently in between building commissioners, but our alternate building commissioner is reviewing any permits in Viewpoint and available if needed until our next building commissioner starts. The master plan, the planning board reviewed a draft charge for the master plan steering committee, and it will consist of a 15-member board to review and advise the consultant. The 39 Main Street project, which is the United Parish building, was approved, and Shapiro Educational and Behavioral Consultants will be starting a program supporting children with autism there in the fall. From the fire department, the fire chief reported that Rescue 2 is repaired and is back on the road. It's good news. And another paramedic has achieved all their ride-along hours, so we now have paramedic coverage 70% of the time. From the police department, the police chief reported they will be hiring the part-time administrative assistant that was ratified tonight. That was part of the fiscal 23 budget. Sergeant Sean Connery will be retiring July 5th, and there is a vacant police officer position, so they are currently in the process of interviews. Cruiser 2 was sold on Municipid for $3,900, and the new hybrid Explorer will be on the road in about 3 to 4 weeks. The chief provided some statistics for 2023. The total number of calls to date is 8,779 calls. And he provided breakdowns for individual months, which I'll, if anyone wants those, I can provide them. Motor vehicle stops, 1,276 year-to-date. Arrests, 114 year-to-date. Accidents, 82 year-to-date. And year-to-date, officers have issued 603 citations and have written 292 reports not involving the above calls.
I want to just offer a couple comments. So when we have, it's come up recently, I was referring to fire and police, when there are major incidents that occur in town or things that displace residents, like, their homes burn down, I would like for the select board to be notified, because those are moments when we really need to reach out to those members of the community. We know that, we had a gentleman whose house caught fire, and there was a lot of engagement with that resident. I learned of it through my job. But, I think that when we have those things, and I want to just commend everyone who really jumped on that with all the members of the select board. We also had, the superintendent of schools. We had, I'm blanking on everyone. Mr. Burney was incredibly helpful. But those are moments when we really need to kind of pull together all our resources to give our residents, the information. So when we have those major incidents for fire, and then even a major policing incident, like when we hear, 1,000 cruisers going by our houses, I'm sure Mr. Alonso hears them as well as I do sometimes, just because of where we live. That it would be nice just to get those reports as soon as possible, just kind of giving us that critical information of who's impacted. And we don't need to know, obviously, 1,000 things that go on in the year, but those things that have that kind of outsized impact on
I'd be
people's
texting
lives.
you every
You would.
minute of
You
the
would.
day.
But just those kind of outsized things, when that have big impact on people's lives.
Yeah, that's certainly, I normally do that day.
You
I
do.
was on vacation
Yeah.
that week, and so
Yeah.
apologize for not getting that out to you.
You weren't here. So you get it, but, all right.
So from finance, the finance director will be sending out a purchase order memo for the end of the year purchase order soon, and after town meeting, we'll set up the fiscal '24 budget, so it is all set in munis before she retires. The finance director will complete the next expenditure report for ARPA that is due on April 30th, so Karen did do that by the due date. From Council on Aging, the Council on Aging director reported that the center has been busy with programming, including Memory Cafe, Zumba, line dancing, yoga, Stitch and Chat, Reiki, and more. The Council on Aging director is beginning to plan for the Memorial Day ceremony, which will be on May 29th at 10 a.m. From the library, there was a burglary on March 25th, which resulted in some petty cash being taken from the library. So they've been working with the police department on that, and
Was it a break into the building?
Was it after hours?
it was someone who was in the building that was not known was in the building, stayed,
After?
yes, before it was closed. So
Okay.
the staff had left, even though they had done a sweep of the building. The Friends of the Library will be holding their book sale on June 3rd from 9 to 2 p.m. And they partnered with the parks with tree planting and a mulching project for Earth Day. From the assessors, the principal assessor reported that the hired consultant has done about half of the cyclical inspections. These aren't related to the abatement inspections. And he's working with the assistant town manager on the RFP for the 5-year revaluation that will be put out shortly. From public access, the position of production technician was filled by an in-house videographer recently. The public access will be getting ready, and which they did, filming Are You Smarter Than Our Sixth Graders, Memorial Day ceremonies, graduation, and the annual town meeting. From DPW, the DPW director relayed that after the last big snowstorm, the crews have been busy cleaning up a lot of roadside debris from fallen trees, so they're still doing that weeks after. And they've also been busy doing street sweeping, performing catch basin cleaning operations, cutting back excessive roadside plant growth, repairing road signs, addressing drainage issues, and picking up branches collected during the Earth Day cleanup. Our consultant for stormwater, CEI, spent 2 days collecting data from our stormwater systems, which includes catch basins, manholes, connecting pipes, this past week. And the DPW director has been trying to get easements signed off for the Flat Hill Road Bridge project, which 2 of the 4 have been signed to date. From IT, fiber has been installed at the TC Passios, and they are working with Comcast to schedule the fiber install at Town Hall. And the IT director from Suzer IT is obtaining updated quotes for the town building phone systems. Our Munis migration is occurring this week. And the go-live date for that will be September 7th and 8th. And that's, so between now and then, working out those kinks. And we're still waiting on a couple quotes from vendors for the camera system at the public safety building. But knock on wood, everything's been stable.
I recommend Verkada.
That is, I think, one of the companies that.
Yeah, good.
I do want to bring up just two things to share publicly, just related to departments. Related to the DPW, it's been noticed about their street sweeping and catch basin cleaning, and just want to share, a resident had sent an email, and it's often, more often than not, that we receive complaints than accolades, so I just want to share that, sending a big thank you to the department, especially the operator, the street sweeper. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do a more thorough job, so I just really want to commend the DPW for all the work that they do, especially this long snow season. Everyone was ready by the end, and I think they do an excellent job for the community. The superintendent always aims to do better at everything. So if there's a goal of 25% of the catch basins being clean, he wants to aim higher than that. So it really says a lot about that department.
I think he's been outstanding.
Another one is a letter from the Mass Teen Choice Selection Committee, and this is addressed to the library director, Muir Hammond. Dear Mr. Hammond, on behalf of the statewide Massachusetts Teen Choice Book Award Selection Committee, I'm writing to express our sincere appreciation and gratitude for the outstanding work that Lunenburg Public Library teen librarian Susan Elbag has done as a founding member of our volunteer committee over the past 2 years. Being a part of the committee is a considerable undertaking. We require members to review at least 20 books and attend a series of meetings throughout the year totaling more than 15 hours of volunteer time. Their dedication and commitment to the committee's mission and fulfillment of these responsibilities has been truly remarkable. Her deep knowledge of adolescent development, library experience, and professionalism have been invaluable as we work to curate an outstanding and diverse list of new young adult books for the youth of our state to vote on. Ms. Elbag's collaborative skills, commitment to literacy, and attention to detail have helped us to create a welcoming and inclusive slate of books that serves our state's diverse needs. Additionally, as the committee's marketing team co-chair, she volunteers extra time to promote this award to youth across the state. We have been truly lucky to have Ms. Elbag as a member of the Massachusetts Teen Choice Award Selection Committee. Her enthusiasm, creativity, and passion for literature has inspired us all. Sincerely, Susan Larson, the chair of the Mass Teen Choice Award Selection Committee.
Wow,
Yes.
That's excellent.
Yes.
excellent. All right. Well, thank you to the town manager, as I say often, some of the best parts of our meeting. All right. We're going to go to old business. Do we have anything to discuss related to our budget, capital plan, annual town meeting warrant articles, and/or consent calendar?
Yes, so there's one article the board hasn't voted on. It's for the fire union collective bargaining agreement, which was reached, agreed by the board, and signed off the MOA by the Lunenburg professional firefighters. So there's that article, and you have a copy of the impact for that as well.
I think we didn't vote on it last week because Chair wasn't here.
No, we didn't, well, also the union hadn't
Oh,
approved
that's
it
right.
either
No, I
at
thought
that
we had
point.
that. We didn't have the MOA left?
Yes, there was the vote, it was the other executive session. that we-
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, whatever the reason, we have it.
Right.
All right. So I didn't want, I obviously wasn't part of the executive session last week, so the board voted to approve the contract?
No,
No, we
that's
did
why.
not. We waited for you.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So what's the best course of action? Is it the morning day of town meeting? for us
Yeah, we
to-
could do it now. I think she's bringing it up now for us to vote on now.
Right now.
Yeah, but we haven't signed it.
The board did vote in executive session last meeting. It was the other executive
Right.
session that you didn't vote on.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
In executive.
'Cause it,
All right, let's find the article. All right, I think, I understand. All right. Annual town meeting documents. Do you have?
looking for the wage,
Yeah, well, I know, I saw the wage
Okay.
sheet.
right,
Do we know what number we are?
8.
So I would make a motion that we recommend approval of Article 8, which is the Fire Union Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Select Board recommends approval 4-0.
Do you want, just to talk about what was included in the final terms? Okay.
Do you want to give the highlights?
Yes, I can do that. So it included 2.5% for each year of the 3-year agreement. And it included a change in the shift differential, differential between the top step lieutenant to the first step of the fire captain position. And that change in year 1 went from 3% to 5% differential. Year 2, an additional percent, and year 3, an additional percent. It added a 4-step for the fire captain position and created a stipend position for the safe coordinator, and that's a $1,000 stipend annually. And an officer out of grade pay, $2 an hour if there's not an officer on duty for a shift for a full-time career firefighter to get a $2 an hour shift differential, which that impact at a high end would be estimated at $5,000 annually. So the overall impact for fiscal '24 would be $26,043.04. Fiscal '25 would be $36,022.18, and fiscal '26, $25,320.14.
Thank you for that highlight and for those updates.
Mr. Chair, I want to point out something that Mr. Franco and I found in Article 21. It's something that we will, because the booklets were already printed, we'll just make a floor amendment, but I did want to bring it to the board's attention. In the senior tax relief, it was discussed, and it was presented by both Mr. Franco and I, that any exemptions that were approved because of this article, the money that isn't collected would be redistributed to the whole rest of the non-exempt tax base. Inadvertently, it seems like in Section 3, it limits that reallocation to residential taxpayers, and we will be offering an amendment on the floor to strike residential and just say all taxpayers as we have been presented it. So I don't know how that eluded us, but it did until I did the slides for the presentation. And so I just wanted to alert the board that we will be making that floor amendment.
Can you, if you have a prepared floor amendment, can you send it to me so I can have it ready? 'Cause-
Oh, sure,
Okay.
sure.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Alonso.
I also would ask when these are distributed, of who will present these, if this article could be either under Mr. Franco or we're going to both going to do the presentation, but one of us, I would just ask that one of us read it.
Okay, that's what,
It's on.
do you want to
it's
go
in
through the motion? Because I'll have to.
Oh, is there a motion sheet already?
It's a motion sheet.
Okay.
It's actually Mr. Jeffries for that article, and
Laura, are you guys presenting together?
Yes. We'll do it from our chairs. We're not going to.
Oh, okay.
so do you want me to
Yeah, I'd ask if
That
the
motion.
chair is okay, I mean,
Without
to just,
objection.
yeah. So if you want to swap it with the
Yeah.
one after it, Article 22 is I'm reading, so if you want to just swap those two.
I can do that.
All right, so I'm just looking at the consent calendar, because, let's see, that's going to be 1, 2, 3. So the first article that gets spoken to is likely 4, and that's Selectwoman Stroka. And then we have Article 5. That's me, and that's definitely not getting passed over. Article 6, capital plan, that's Mr. Alonso. Article 7, Mr. Franco. 8, 9, all right, 10, 11, 12. So it's me, and then me. All right, and then we have Mr. Alonso. We really think this much is going to make it on the consent calendar?
If anything gets objected to, then it will get pulled off. Well, that's, the board voted on that. and-
I mean, they are rather non-contentious, the ones that are on there, and if anybody feels that they need to be discussed, they certainly have the ability to stand up and say that.
Yeah, hey, this has the potential of being a short meeting or.
I think there's plenty of other articles that there'll be discussion on, so.
Why do you do that? Whenever you say something is going to be short,
It's never short.
so long.
All right. I don't have any questions on anything else. Do we have any questions on anything else with old
I thought you
business?
wanted us to vote on the article.
You did,
8.
right? 8?
Did we vote on it?
Yep.
We're done then. We don't
Yeah, we're
need to-
good.
we voted
All right.
on it.
All right, current business, approval of minutes from February the 28th.
Yeah, that was deferred from last week because we didn't have enough members who were there.
Okay. All right. So I think you guys were waiting for me then for this one. All right, I move to approve the minutes of February the 28th.
A second.
Any additional discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. All right, the motion passes. All right, I'm just looking at licensure. All right, we have a couple things to sign, so let me just pass these down. Does Lou need to have a specific signature on any of this? No?
No.
All right, the first is the transfer of the alcohol license. And a common vic. And the temporary extension of the premises. When does the extension expire?
It's at least a year.
It says April 21st, 2024. I think that's, we are going to, let's just talk through this one. When we did our approval for the alcohol transfer, we did not do the common vic. Can we still make that motion, or do we?
No, I did.
Oh,
I did make it
I thought it
for
was in the
both.
motion.
I said it for both.
okay,
Yep.
You read the whole,
Got it.
Yeah, I read what was on here.
Yeah.
all right. Heather, what do we, ZBA?
That's May 9th. May 9th. That's the hearing.
Got it. All right.
Where you going with that pen? That was sneaky.
All right, so we don't have any warrants, and were we all here last week to sign? Shouldn't this be a warrant week?
No, last week.
Last week
Last
was.
week was the warrant week.
Got it. Hey, that's what happens when you
And
miss.
so was Wednesday, as it turned out. So,
So we'll all be here next week to sign some warrants. All right, for action items, I have 2. I sent to the town manager, I sent you an email, I know it's being acted on, I'm just gonna publicly state it. So we had a request for, resident, sent us, I'm not sure if it was all of us or just me, I don't know who was on that initial email, but we received an email from a resident concerned about the intersection of Sunset and Robs Hill.
Yeah, it went to all of us. I think.
Okay, because I did, I did reply all to that. So that at the intersection of Sunset and Robs Hill, I happened to drive that intersection today. I've driven it before. I don't live in that part of town, but I'm familiar with it. So the request is for there to be no parking signs basically south and north of that intersection. It's pretty clear and obvious that that will have a really negative impact on many of the small lots that are near that area. And so, so we've asked the request then is for there to be some kind of, study to understand the implications there. The chief of the of police informed us this morning that he will be installing some traffic monitors south and north of that intersection to do a traffic count, to get a better idea of how many people are coming through there and also the average speed that's coming through there. And then from that, there likely can be a discussion about mitigating factors. If speed can be mitigated through temporary, permanent signage, if there, speed bumps, et cetera. And I think as a last resort would be signage that says no parking. But they're going to do an evaluation. I think one of the critical concerns is always, can a fire truck get through? If the answer is no, then obviously you can't park there. So I know that there's going to be a little bit of work on the town's part between DPW and the police department to kind of do a little bit of research on that, and they'll get back to us in the coming weeks. So I did touch base with him on that, so I'm just giving the update. And the second one is I'm looking to schedule this for next week, so I'll touch base with the town manager. I know I mentioned this to the board previously. We had a request coming from Summer Street. These are the residents that live closest to the Leominster line coming, west down Summer Street. So the request really is that when the town, through MPO, worked with Fitchburg and Leominster to modify that road, that what occurred in that road modification was that basically everyone got an extra about 15 feet of yard in its town property, all down Summer Street. And so we have a request coming from one of the residents to pave that area directly in front of their house. They're requesting it under ADA.
Yeah, they want a parking space.
They want to park next to it, and it has to deal with the owners of the property.
Get this request?
Yeah, we
in the
did months
past?
ago.
I mentioned it in the past, but they didn't.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, they haven't come forward formally with it, but they will be looking to come forward with the request. I've been working with them to try to, finalize what exactly their plan is and what their ask is. So they're coming with, it'll be presented next week, but there's two parts to it. One ask is they pulled together a quote to figure out, I asked them to pull together a quote, figure out what it's going to cost, and then also to put stakes up to mark the area that they're looking to get paved. And so that way this board and DPW director and everyone else can drive down Summer Street, look over and take a look at the area and kind of know the footprint that's being talked about. But the request, which we'll have next week, is for either the owner to pay for it or for the town to pay for it. But the request is for an area approximately, I think it's like 9 feet by 4 feet or 5 feet to be paved in front of their home on the area that's town property.
It's been a while since we received this, so I have not been refreshed myself, but is this town-owned property?
It is. It's town property.
Okay, and they're asking for a spot for themselves?
So I think that the initial request, we'll have it next week. But the initial request that came in was initially for kind of a designated handicap parking spot on the street.
Well, they provided an example last
And
time.
they provided an example. I think,
But it's not a public space
No.
for handicap. They want it to be for them.
so the request has changed. So that was the initial request. I met with the owners and I politely explain to them that they have adequate parking on their own property to park, and that a modification that they're requesting would be a modification of the road, and that I would not, in my opinion, I advised them, I said, I don't expect that I would approve that, and I don't know if my peers would either, because it's a pretty expensive modification, and it can be achieved in different ways. Like, there's another way to solve this problem. And so they kind of worked on trying to figure out a way to solve the problem. So the idea is that there's a space between their front steps and the road. And all that space between is town property, but it looks like lawn when you drive down the street. They don't have to maintain it, but it's town property. And so what they're asking is to pave the grassy area. It's a portion of the grassy area, not on the street, to pave it, because the gentleman who lives in the home, both members of that home have disabilities. One happens to be blind, and they keep falling. And so they're looking to get, be able to park closer to their house. So next week, I did ask them to come forward, and they'll have it together, and they'll meet with us next week and go over what their plans are and what they're asking for us. And between now and then, if anyone drives down Summer Street, you know, it's really, I'm blanking on the cross street that's right next to it, but, do you happen to remember? No. I'm blanking on the cross street that's right next to it, but there will be stakes out. I'll get back to you guys and let you know the address. But that's just something to note that, we've been talking for a little bit. I didn't mention, as you said before, and I've been kind of guiding them towards something that could potentially get approved and away from something that that clearly will not. All right. Any other action items that we have tonight?
You're asking me?
I do. I will touch on, because it's spring, and we should bring back all the things that we all put together, put to sleep in the fall. I will pick up the second most touchy item in town, and that is, of course, line painting. Where are we? Again, more people are going to drive again. You drive down some of these roads in town that have no markings and no lights, and it is treacherous.
It's scary.
Just nothing short of treacherous.
But are we line paving every road? No,
Just the
right?
ones that have been repaved recently.
Yeah, okay.
I am of the belief, I've often said this, that any road that gets paved should have either
Oh, I agree.
a center line or center line and shoulder lines.
Right.
But you have to know in fog, in
Right.
drizzle, where is the road?
Yeah, I
You
agree.
can't just be presented with a field of black in front of you with forest on both sides that's equally black, so you have no idea, not only one,
I totally agree.
where you are on the road, but are you on the road?
Especially when it's foggy.
Right, it's bad, and, you know, it's just, they're just bad, and some of the roads in town are narrow.
Yeah.
On top of that, so, yeah.
If I could piggyback on top of that too, I was going to bring it up separately, so I'm glad you did. Specific inquiries with regard to Townsend Harbor Road, just specific people requesting for that area. It's particularly deadly. So.
All right. So I think that,
Someone die on it?
I will say, as I've gotten just a little bit older, I've noticed that my night vision is starting to change.
Just got new glasses.
And so I now understand what everyone's been talking about how
You think your eyes
it's still not, no, I'm still good, but I notice it more than I ever have before. That it's blinding.
Well, that adds to it. That adds to it, certainly. But I, as someone who has excellent night vision still, it is just, I mean, again, you can't see what isn't lit. That's like the way vision works. So it's not like my vision has gone bad. It's like there's nothing to mark it. And then you add to that the absolute contrast. And then, of course, the incredible range of headlights from dim and tinted to like blasting, like you could laser a hole through steel. And you're like, why somebody need this? Like, if you need that kind of light to drive, you should be in the driving. But, so yeah, you get hit with that out of the complete darkness, and then you're really blinded. So, yeah, anyway, whatever we can do.
So we'll have an update, I'm sure, from...
I'll follow up with the DPW.
And of course, that, I've asked for that, given the problems we've had with getting somebody, that any repaving as part of the project should have the line painting as part of it.
Will be going forward.
Yes, and I know I talked to the DPW director, I know is very conscientious and very aware of that, so.
Yes.
And the second action item I have is just, now that I believe, I think I asked for this before, but now that the abatements are actually being started because data has been provided to the Board of Assessors, if we can get, it is, when they make a decision on the abatement, it is public record. If they can provide us, without us having to ask, like weekly, what the abatements were given so we can see what has been going on.
I will.
It saves me the chance of having to go and chase it every week.
Yeah.
Great. I know 10 have been granted, and that total in tax value is $17,596.
All right. Well, 10, obviously, that means we got 400 something to go.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, and that was, I think, mostly non-lakefront ones that they dealt with
Right.
first.
Yeah.
Oh, and did we get the final report
No.
yet?
Did you get it?
Okay.
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
I did speak with Mr. Kramer on Monday night, and he said that he was going to be sending it Monday night.
Okay.
It's not been received yet.
Okay.
Yeah. But the assessors do have a meeting.
Thursday.
At 3 o'clock.
To accept it.
Right.
So-
That's the goal.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah, we were expecting it by this morning, right? Yeah.
And hopefully when that's achieved, I know that people have been requesting, and I know that people on this board probably have heard from people as well, you know, they're like, okay, once the final report is out, they've asked for a joint statement. We all received that email. I also don't believe we need a joint statement. This is clearly with the Board of Assessors, and if, I would encourage them to make a statement about what they feel about the findings, about what they plan to do. But for those of you for those people who are waiting for their abatements, that is the process. Nothing is going to change the fact that the abatement process is the abatement process. What happens going forward with the results of this report will affect 2024, not 2023. The only thing that will affect 2023 is the abatement process. That is all. So, and I understand yesterday was the last day to file an abatement, and yesterday all the Q4 taxes were due. So, you know, we're winding down through the absolute slog of this process, but, you know, that is what people should expect.
All right. We have, for any other action items, I kind of have one for the board, which is I'd like for us to figure out an alternative meeting. So we have 2 meetings coming up before a town election. We have the 9th and the 16th. I would like, before the election, to finalize the town manager's report, and to...
Need my evaluation.
Evaluation, town manager's report, town manager's evaluation, and to largely finalize the investigation report. So, if we can kind of just look at our own calendars, figure out if I would recommend next week on Thursday as an alternative for us to meet at maybe 6 or 6:30, and just to do one topic, just to kind of help push this through, but we still need to work through. But I will follow up with you guys, I just want to kind of get that gauge, that if we needed to meet for another hour to avoid having 4-hour meetings, what is the preference of the board? Is it to have a longer meeting, or is it to kind of keep it underneath 3 and maybe add an hour somewhere?
I don't know that I have a preference one way or another. I will say, just to your comment about the investigation, I do want to say that I think it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to get, I think the investigation should happen after, maybe not all the abatements are done, but at least we get a sense for how the abatements are going.
I agree.
So I don't think by the election day that's going to happen. I was thinking for myself, as one member of the team, that it was probably going to be more like, you know, middle of June. That would be for the report. The report is, there's no rush on the report.
No.
The report, it needs to be done, and it needs to be done as, almost as a retrospective, so you can view from the other side going
Right,
back.
right.
And I'd rather not rush that, so. But as far as the town manager's evaluation, I think absolutely that has to be done.
All right. So I know that we had a calendar going into this spring that we've kind of had to push to the side a bit. So I think that we just need to touch base, because we have to wrap up our goals, there's a couple other things. I know Ms. Lemieux and I just need to, Madam Town Manager and I need to just take a little bit of time and work through the agenda for the 9th and the 16th. And I'll come back to you guys if it looks like something's going to get too long, and that, hey, maybe we have an hour somewhere we can find.
If you're gonna stick to the hour, but if you're not gonna, I just say push through the other meeting. I'm just putting it out there. Because if we're gonna have another meeting and it's like 3 hours on a Thursday,
No, yeah, no, okay. Any other action items?
I have an action item for the board, actually.
We need to meet with you to
Yes.
finalize, yes,
Those who haven't met with me need
which
to
is
meet
all
with
of us
me.
except for one. So for those of us who haven't met with the town manager, we do need to do this compilation. So if we can find the time this week, again, I'm not harping on anybody, because I've been the thorn in the side for the years that I've been on the board with getting these done on time. So if we can just find that time, get them complete, meet up with the town manager and send them over to me, that'd be good, and we can work on the compilation. But that needs to be completed as soon as possible, because usually the meeting on the 16th is usually the meeting on the 9th is when we go over it, and then we have like a week to kind of ourselves individually go look at.
Not go over it, just introduce it.
Introduce it.
Yeah, the first time you just introduce it, you can't even talk about it
Yeah.
because nobody's seen it.
Yep, so we introduce it, and then the 16th is when we finalize it. So I would like to stay with that, so that means that by the 9th, everyone needs to meet with the town manager and send me a copy.
Yep.
Okay? All right. And I'm more than happy to work with anyone, Mr. Franco. I think it's the three of us on this side. I haven't done it. So if you need any help, I'm more than happy. All right, as I work on it myself. Thank you. All right, any committee reports?
Who does have one?
Oh,
Chicken scratch.
yes.
So senior breakfast somewhere.
No, I know. School committee meeting tomorrow.
Okay, so Economic Development Committee, are we,
Yeah, it wasn't on
I didn't know if he was doing, switching
Yeah, it
gears.
wasn't on there, and I think he's sitting.
Say again?
Is there something missing from our agenda?
It wasn't on the agenda, so,
No?
sorry.
Yes, I'm assuming when I saw it in the drive that it got canceled for some reason, so
Elaine's been out sick, so I can't ask her if she would have scheduled it.
that's fine.
Okay.
And did we do everything we had to do on this?
No, we didn't. Somebody, you guys didn't sign all the signature on here.
Sorry,
that
we're
I
going
can-
back for a second. We need to go back and do this, you're saying?
Yep, that's me.
Okay, so
You
who's that?
two,
right?
you
That's
two
me.
plaid shirt guys.
Who's that chicken scratch? That one's mine.
And then
Yeah,
I'll,
is
There's
there
a couple
more?
of
there's a couple. You
There's
guys
more,
missed all the
yeah.
yellows. Missed all the yellows.
Clearly, I can't follow instructions.
Good catch, good catch.
Anyone have committee reports while we're signing?
Yeah, except that I'm signing, so,
I have no committee reports.
All right, I'll do mine while you're signing. Municipal Building Design Committee, we met, I think we've had a really intermittent meeting schedule this year due to the Monday holidays. I think, me not being available, other things coming up. But we're looking to have a joint meeting with the Select Board on the 16th to go over the proposed hybrid plan, as well as some kind of rough estimates for phasing and rough estimates for cost. So we're looking to have that joint meeting on the 16th, and I'll work with the town manager on that time, and then we'll have that scheduled. And library, I know that I did not attend their last meeting, but I will check in with Harry and get the update.
Is FinCom's, I should know this as the liaison, but I don't, and I'm not necessarily embarrassed to say that, but do they have their second public hearing this Thursday?
They had it
Or they had-
already on
Oh, they
the
did have it, okay.
20th.
Right, okay. So,
And they haven't,
I think I did announce that, so.
they met
You did.
one time out? No, they haven't met since.
Okay.
Mr. Franco.
okay. Going back to Economic Development Committee meeting, which did actually happen last Thursday evening, various topics came up during that meeting, and some of them are a little bit non sequitur, but still worth bringing up. The idea was suggested ultimately that after the 30 School Street demolition takes place, that perhaps additional parking be put over there for access to these buildings, and also potentially a painted crosswalk with flashing signs going directly from 30 School Street to across here without having to go to the intersection. That was just one idea that was kicked around. But more centrally to the actual economic development, well, that's part of economic development. It certainly provides access to this area. But Mr. Burney distributed an updated and near-final draft of the Lunenburg Business Development Guide. I've mentioned this guide before. This is just a draft of it. This is essentially a booklet that was put together to somebody wanting to open a business in Lunenburg. They need sort of one central place where they can get all the information they need to. Who do I need to go see? Do I need to go see the building inspector, the land director, the land use director, the town clerk to get a business certificate, et cetera, depending on what kind of business you want to open and what licenses you might need and whom you might need to see, or to check boxes essentially in opening your business. Different businesses, of course, are going to have different requirements. Restaurants and is going to be different than, maybe other kind of retail or something. So that's the whole point of that. And you'll recall, and I mentioned this maybe almost a year ago, that Kathy Clark actually had brought in a model from Ashburnham using their business guide as sort of we kind of borrowed, or I should say the Economic Development Committee. I'm only a liaison, but I've been involved in the discussions, but I'm not a voting member, of course. So then we had a discussion about, it just kind of came up that there's this perception, well, we think that this hopefully will alleviate some of the impediments to opening a business, and it'd be less piecemeal. So there's sort of just impediments by lack of knowledge, like where do I even start? Who do I go see first? Hopefully this business guide is going to help with that, and reduce some of the impediments to opening a business in Lunenburg. But then this spun off into another discussion about, well, really, are the actual impediments, are there any more impediments in this town than there are in other towns? Because there's certainly that perception, that was another discussion. Why is there that perception? But really, our actual requirements are really no more onerous than they are in other towns, but people think they are. So we have to kind of figure out a way to take the edge off of that. And the idea had come up. I mean, there was like pie in the sky thrown around, but some good ideas came up. Like maybe there should be a single point of contact when somebody wants to open a business, a single point of contact that sort of helps usher a person through, their process of opening their business. Now, de facto, Adam Burney has been sort of serving that role to more than to some extent. He tries to help out and do that, but I mean, like, he has like a lot of things that he does. So, and then there was the whole discussion about, well, we don't have like a critical mass to justify a full-time position by that, but, we would never get somebody for a part-time position. Anyway, these are the discussions that took place. I don't totally know what came out of it, other than that there is a nearly complete business development guide, which is a very positive step, so.
Is that, when are they expecting that to be published?
Pretty soon. Do you have data when they're thinking of?
Was this the brochure that we did years back?
Well, no, this is like sort of what's been being kicked around for the last year. Maybe it's an update to one that was done years back.
Okay.
But
we had worked with MRPC. We had received a DLTA grant, and that's how we did the first business brochure that kind of outlined the process to help businesses, or people, residents, go through the permitting process.
Okay, that's like.
But that is on the website, that one, but I'm not aware, I'm not.
Okay, yeah, this is a new, I got the impression from this last meeting and I missed the previous meeting, so some stuff happened at that meeting. Apparently they reviewed it this was sort of like putting the final touches on it. So other than like a few minor edits, I think this thing is basically done. So I would expect soon, but I don't have a date.
All right.
So.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Franco, for that committee report. And do you have any committee reports, Town Manager?
I do not.
All right. So we are nearing the end of our agenda here. The Select Board will be going into executive session after public comments. So we're going to go ahead and go into public comments from the Town Manager this evening. Do we have any public comments, Madam Town Manager?
I just wanted to add on to what the Vice Chairman said regarding that email we received from the Lake Action Committee, and that issuing a public statement as a joint effort between the Select Board, the Town Manager, and the assessors, that I think this has been stated multiple times, but this is strictly a assessor's issue as far as the abatement process. This is not a Select Board issue, it's not a Town Manager issue. We've been here in different roles as an investigation component, as well as supportive and trying to get them the resources they needed in order to process all the abatements that they received. So again, I would restate that as that's not the role of this board or myself, and that how any implication that the issue of issuing a statement related to this is tied to town meeting and the confidence of voters in voting the budget. I think the presentation from the auditors last week speaks volumes about the ability of the town to be in a good financial position, and what we've done as far as policy work and planning speaks for itself, and that I would hope that voters would see that as evidence that the town is in a good position and that the budget being put forth is appropriate and meets the town's needs, and there was a lot of thought and process that went into it as well.
All right, thank you, Town Manager. Do we have any public comments this evening from the public? Seeing none online. It's been great to have someone in the room with us.
I know. And he
I said it's
hasn't come
been-
up, I want to know who he is.
Yeah, it has been great to have someone in the room
I
with
had
us.
an appointment for my solicitor's license. You told me to come here at 7. Elaine.
Would you mind stepping forward for a
It
moment?
was,
no
it is,
problem.
right?
Because you've sat here for
I don't mind hanging out with you guys.
I'm pretty sure that that's what I thought.
So if you just state your name if you don't mind.
Guglielmo Studio, but they
Okay.
call me Elmo for short.
Drive.
Yep, so we do have, this is for the doing business as solar, as sun.
Yeah,
and
I
solar.
work for Sunrun, correct.
Okay. I really apologize that you've sat here for 2 hours. Unfortunately, you were not on our agenda this evening, so we can't
Elaine
actually
told me like
discuss
2
it.
weeks ago, or a week and a half ago.
And it's in our drive.
Yeah, we have it in the, we have.
Unfortunately, it didn't get posted on
Right.
it, by some error. It
Okay.
actually did not get posted.
So what do I do
You have to
now?
We gotta
repost it and
post
do
it
this next
again.
week.
How
So-
long does that take?
Next week. So,
Okay.
so here's the process. So normally, like, we have the information assigned. We even have the information in front of us. It wasn't put on our agenda. And
Okay.
so because of that, we have a requirement to post publicly everything that we're going to vote on. And since it wasn't put on our agenda, we would have had to have that in by last Thursday.
Okay.
So we can't we can't modify it today. Like-
No, I understand that. I was kind of figuring out something was happening.
Why don't we, so typically, if you see the format of our meetings, hopefully this at least was interesting to watch.
No, yeah, I've never really sat through a whole one of these. No, so it's actually pretty cool, especially because I'm going to be working in this town. It's probably good that
We
it
held
isn't.
out the hope that we had an interested party.
But I
Yeah?
Really what
I
happened
know
at the select board
It's
meetings.
like, there's something missing from this agenda, because no one is just sitting here.
I'm sorry.
So what we'll do is, in our meeting format, we have our standard stuff that happens those first 10, 15 minutes. So do we have anything already for next week at 7:15?
Out of courtesy, Mr. Chair, I was going to ask the
We just
earliest we
bumped
can.
it.
Why don't we-
Earliest we
Yeah,
can
because
make.
it took me like a month to get all the state licensing and everything else. I've been waiting to work in this area. I can't really work anywhere until I get, because
Right.
I don't want to be, the police chief has told me that I can't work until we have a
Right,
license here, so.
Okay.
I just want to respect,
definitely
because I'm going to
not.
be here for as long as possible, so.
I saw you were down the street, though, on Mass Ave. Sunrun was doing something
What
down
we
there.
can look,
Oh, so, I'm sure, there's a lot of companies, so Sunrun is a huge company, so there's probably people
They're right
everywhere.
down on Mass Ave.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just looking at our agenda to see. for
yeah,
next
we can
week.
do, you want to do 7:10?
Yeah,
What was it?
we're gonna schedule you for next week at 7:10.
7:10
So
next
this will be-
Thursday?
Yep.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. So 7:10, we're gonna review all your information. We'll be able to make a decision on it. 7:10
You had that in there. It's in there.
next week. We're putting it on the agenda right now.
Is there anything that I need to bring or anything? No, right? It was, everything that you
Yeah, we
needed was in there?
I mean, we
Everything's
can't
in order.
really.
Oh,
talk
you guys
about
don't
it,
even know?
but
Okay, yeah.
You wouldn't be scheduled if things.
If it
were
wasn't
missing.
already there? Okay, perfect. All right, well, I guess it was a great meeting, you guys. I'll see you next week.
Just consider this a dress rehearsal.
I guess, okay, well, hopefully I worked out.
Yes.
All right, guys, I guess have a good night.
Yeah, hope you
Thank
enjoyed
you.
spending your evening with us.
Hey, it was very interesting. I like actually listening to this kind of stuff.
Have a good night.
All right. Any other public comments? No? Okay, good thing I said something there, huh? Although I should have said something probably an hour ago. Some change.
I didn't know either.
Yeah, all right.
I thought he was getting ready to go into executive session with us.
And that's why I asked if we were missing something from the agenda before.
Yeah, I see it sitting here, but I mean, I didn't know. All right, so we have any public comments from the public board? Any public comments from the board this evening?
I will say that I want to reinforce what the town manager said, that coming to town meeting is, I I've taken it seriously for many, many years. I hope people do. It is the one chance, the one voice you get. The audit we received last week is similar to the audit we received the year before that and years before that. The town is run very well. I think the finance director and the town manager and their teams, I've said last week, do an excellent job. This is the time to come and support that. I think the budget that was put together serves the needs of the town. And if you look at any individual article separately from all the rest, it is either self-explanatory or easily supported about why we need it, and we need people to come and vote in favor of these. These are not nice to haves. These are core things like passing the budget and putting things in stabilization fund, et cetera, et cetera. So I do encourage people to come, to participate, and participate because they want to have a say in how the town spends money and the kind of articles and the kind of policies they want to adopt. And I support all the things in there, as I think the majority of the board and the finance committee did with their recommendations. So it should be a good event. It should not be a long event this year. I know we didn't want to jinx it, but it really should not be a long event. And it would be nice to see a good attendance and people participating in town government, the one important day of the year. I mean, there are others too, but this is the one every year. So I hope to see people there.
Thank you. Any other public comments this evening?
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback on that and just say, you know, in our form of government, our town meeting form of government, I mean, the people that show up are the legislature. And if they want to have a say in what happens in town, that's your opportunity for direct participatory democracy. And that's all I have to say about it, other than what Mr. Alonso and the town manager and everyone else has said, so.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for that. So I move to enter into executive session and to adjourn the meeting after exiting executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30, Section 21, Paragraph 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, where an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's bargaining position, and the chair, I so declare. And this is related to public employee agreement. So this is going to be a roll call vote to enter into executive.
I'll second that.
Oh, thank you. The motion was seconded.
May I clarify one quick point on a
Yes.
technicality? You did say, and to adjourn,
The meeting?
yeah, it made it sound as though we were going to come back in the way you did it. So we're going to adjourn from executive session,
It
correct?
says
Okay.
after exiting. You just read
Yeah,
it.
yeah, so it says adjourn after exiting executive session, which makes it sound like we're exiting executive session and then
You
adjourning.
can make the motion however you want. This is how the agenda was written up.
Yeah. Okay, we follow you.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Franco, do you need me to revise it, or are we good?
I think we probably, I mean, no, I think it should be just clear.
Michael Ray, words
Yeah,
matter.
I would
Words
say,
matter.
please modify it, yes, just so
Okay.
it's absolutely,
Words
All right, I'm
matter.
going to, you to withdraw your
I
second.
withdraw the second.
Withdraw the motion, all right. Let me just make sure I got the verbiage right.
Maybe Mr.
So what is
Franco
it?
wants to
It's
make the motion.
typically not-
Mr.
No, but
Franco,
it's
do you want-
typically not to return
yeah,
to regular session. And that's usually how it's written.
yeah.
And this week is written differently, that's all.
Mr. Franco, do you want to make the motion?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't copy this from the Board of Assessors, did you?
There's no emoji for this.
The mind blown?
Shaking your head while your mind is blowing.
All right, Lou, we want to go ahead and make this.
Now I've talked myself into making the motion?
You
That's
have, you have.
All right, so I move to enter into an executive session, and then not to return, so, and then adjourn our meeting, within the confines of executive session, not to return for the purposes of discussing strategy with respect to collective bargaining.
I'll second that. Whatever gets us into an executive session.
All right, This is a roll call vote. We have a motion and a second to enter into executive session, and as noted, we will not be entering regular session, and we will be exiting our meeting after ending executive session. Selectwoman Schroka.
Aye.
Selectman Franco.
Aye.
Selectman Alonso.
Aye.
And aye for myself, Michael Ray Jeffries. All right. So the time is 9:12. Thank you all for joining us. As we noted, we